Yo, what's good with you? It's Nia Queen, and we are back for another episode. I'm feeling good today. I'm feeling grateful today. Very grateful. And I have a good friend with me, the esteemed author,
Yes.
therapist,
Yes.
entrepreneur, Rasheeda Jones.
I am back. I am back. I am back. What's good with you? Thank you, Nia. Thank you, Nia. I want to extend my appreciation and my gratitude for you inviting me back on the show. Just again, so we can be in conversation. I'm super excited and to be here. I'm super excited.
Thank you for kicking it with me
Yes.
today.
Yes.
I want to acknowledge Chef Beans. He has a play coming out this month. He's working hard and diligently to get you guys that great content. So let's support him. His play is April 29th and 30th, and you can find tickets for that on chefbeans.com. But also, today's episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. That is an online platform where you can find a therapist and have therapy in your own home. You don't have to drive nowhere.
Mhm.
You don't have to have that awkward, oh, hey, how you do on Zoom. And you could choose your therapist. So if you don't like that therapist, switch them out for a different one. If you sign up with our code, you get 10% off your first month of BetterHelp. And our link is betterhelp.com/WGWY pod. So don't forget to use our code. Now, let's get to this episode. Today, we're talking all things positive.
Yes.
No negativity today. So, if I say something negative, check me, okay? Because sometimes I beat myself up. But today, we're not doing that because we're thankful and we are positive today. We just want to do this episode as a way to give you guys some coping skills to get through life. Because sometimes we talk about, oh, go to therapy, go to this, go to that. There's stuff that you could do in your own home.
Absolutely.
You don't even have to leave where you at.
Absolutely.
It's all about what's up here.
And in here.
And in here.
Yes.
And in here.
Yes.
Okay? And
Yes.
in here.
This is
Okay.
important. This is important.
So how have you been this week, Rasheeda?
I've been good. I've been in a spirit of gratitude
Mm-hmm.
for my mind, my body, and my health. I've been relaxing and resetting, and just putting a pause on a lot of the things that I had going on, just to center myself and ground myself. So
Mm-hmm.
I think us talking about gratitude is a perfect topic for today, because that's the space that I'm in. I'm just acknowledging, where it comes from.
Right.
Yes, the
Sometimes
source.
sometimes you have to take a step back
Yes, yes.
to really see how far you have come.
Mm-hmm.
Because what I notice about myself is that I can get so wrapped up in what I want that I don't acknowledge what's here. And it's like, me and you was praying for this. And now you're here. But now you're focused on something else. So sometimes you have to take a step back and actually appreciate what's in front of you. Um, I am also feeling grateful today, just for family, just for my health. In March, I went to two funerals, and I was just like, dang, we really take a lot of this stuff for granted. Like, there is an expiration date on all of us.
On everything.
On all of us. And it's like we really take it for granted. And I mean, I feel like I'm getting towards that age where it's like, oh, you really gotta be thankful for stuff. You gotta stop looking at everything so negatively because it can all be gone. All of it. It really could just be gone. So, going to those funerals, it was just like kind of a surreal moment. Like, okay, we need to be a little bit more grateful because there's people that didn't wake up today, and we take those things for granted because we don't think about them every day. But when you go to funerals, it kind of makes you think about those things. So, I'm feeling very, very grateful today. So today we have something special. We have mental note cards. And if you guys don't know about these note cards, I use them every day at work. Every single day at work. But we're going to get a question from the mental note cards.
Yes.
Um Do you want to explain the mental note cards
Yes.
first before we
Yes.
get into our question?
I do owe the honor to explain this creation. So these are some mental note cards that I created, and it comes in a category of six. So you have writing prompts, you have songs, you have activities, coping skills, quotes, and affirmations. And the idea is you being able to fill your cup from your own home. So at any point, if you need a song to uplift the mood, let me pull from the note card. If you feel like I use writing as a form of coping, if you need to write out, you have a prompt. Again, just providing self awareness, self love, and reassurance all from this deck. And it was created by me, and I feel that with the influence of those around me, I think it's a great product, and I think that we should definitely pull from it as
Don't
our.
think. No. I'm gonna tell you now,
I
it's a great product.
yes,
She don't have to think it because I use
I
it every
love
day.
you don't know how much it means to me when I'm at work and I get a text from Nia like these are a hit, these are because you know how you know something is good, but when somebody else affirms it, it's just like, oh my gosh. So I appreciate you, sis, for supporting it and utilizing it. It's one
Hmm.
thing to support with purchasing the product. It's a whole nother means of love when you actually implement it and provide feedback. So
Right.
thank you for that.
And before we
And I
grab
didn't
the
pay I didn't pay her to do this.
yeah,
Like
no, 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 no. But before I get the question, I like how the songs are, you know, culturally
yes.
competent.
Yes.
Like one time I pulled out the Marvin Sapp "Never Would Have Made It,"
Yes.
and me and the kid was singing "Never Would Have Made It."
Yes. Yes. That's important. Again, creating products for us by us
Right,
that speaks to us.
right,
So you will see have a Michael Jackson song in there
right.
or a Marvin
Exactly.
Sapp.
Singing gospel with the
It
kids,
and
it
it's a
happens.
or a song that's gonna have you bopping. Ty Dolla Sign to Nipsey Hussle. It's like we are we are a unique group of culture that comes in many
Yeah,
waves, and
we
so
are.
everything is represented in the card deck.
Right, right.
Every single thing.
So let me get one of these cards. Let me see what we got
Yes.
going. See what I got going on here. Whew. Oh, I might as well just choose the first one. Okay. So it says, "You are more than enough. You are worthy. You matter." Write a self affirmation mental note memo to yourself highlighting your worth. Wow.
So that
Wow.
means I'm gonna hear an affirmation from you right now.
Right.
Highlighting
Right.
your worth, Nia.
Oh, man. Um, this is a hard one. I have to. Okay. How do I affirm myself to know that I am worthy? I would say the work that I do is meaningful. The work that I do is meaningful. Whether it's the podcast, whether it's my regular job, just being a therapist, or even kinonics, like what I'm doing is meaningful. It has a purpose. Purpose.
Yes.
Nia means purpose.
Yes.
So it's like
Yes. Talk
that's
to the
my
people.
affirmation.
Talk to the people. Let them know.
Yeah,
Nia
that's my
means purpose.
Nia means
Own it.
purpose. So what I do, everything I do, it has meaning. It's meaningful. So
Absolutely.
that's my affirmation for
Absolutely.
today.
You see how we just had
Wow.
that moment
Wow.
there? Yes.
It was
Yes.
right. That was the first card. I didn't even like. So are you choosing a different card or are you
Oh yeah, we
choosing
can
this?
you can choose one and then give it
Okay,
to
so
me.
that was my card. So I'm gonna
Okay.
let you choose a different card.
Okay. It says Stretch Your Mind and Fly by Whitney M. Young Jr. So shout out to my social work department at Clark Atlanta. Again, all represented. How do you connect on a spiritual level? What keeps you grounded and centered? Write down how you connect and flourish spiritually. We're not writing it down, but I'll speak to that. And
Okay.
I just mentioned how I'm currently in a state of solitude.
Mm.
Right now, I am waking up every morning like, God, thank you for every single part of me, from my ability to hear, touch, taste, smell, like really being spiritually connected to that. And then writing letters to God, whether I'm thanking Him for just who He is or thanking Him for the things that I have, and what's currently keeping me grounded and centered. Again, just being aware
Mhm.
of the things that I have and the abilities of my body and the blessings. So right now, that solitude that I'm in is currently allowing me to connect spiritually and deeper. Yeah.
This is
So
some.
look, that was right on time because
This
you
is
were
what
talking
you
about
get when you get the
purpose,
the mental note
and then here
cards.
we.
Like this is
It's
good
good.
stuff.
It's good stuff.
It's good stuff.
It's good
Just
stuff.
even like me trying to think of an affirmation, like I really had to think. Like I didn't practice this, y'all. I didn't practice this, but I'm glad that that was the first one because it just shows how this product helps with choosing positive thoughts.
Mhm.
Because sometimes we don't affirm ourselves. And I have a question for you. There's a lot in this deck that focuses on kind of self-empowerment. Is there a reason why you did it that way?
So with anything, I definitely do it with intentions. There was a point where I didn't have the words or the knowledge or the means to affirm myself,
Mhm.
or I had to seek people like a therapist or self awareness groups to pour that into me. And so once I took the time to do that and I started to develop who I was like, this costs a lot of money. Like, I was paying top dollar for therapy, I was paying top dollar for self awareness groups. And I know that a lot of people don't have access to that or
Right.
money for that. So I
Right.
said, let me create something that all of the tools that I combined over the years and filled my cup, let me just put it into one product for people that's accessible.
Mhm.
And so that's where that came from. Like, because it was a point where I did not have it. I
Mm.
didn't have it. It was a
Yeah.
point in my life where I
Yeah.
was growing as a woman and thought I knew it all, but was realizing through experience like there was so
It's
much more.
it's it's like we don't even realize how negative we are to ourselves sometimes. Like until it's almost like a light bulb that hits and you're like, "Wait a minute. Why am I talking like this?" Like I'm actually doing good. Like what are these negative thoughts? But the reason why it's so important to choose these positive thoughts, and I say choice because we're not ignoring that bad things can't happen. We're not ignoring reality. I'm not trying to tell you, oh yeah, just be positive every single day. Sometimes we have to make a choice to choose those positive thoughts because
Mhm.
that negativity is there sometimes. But we have to choose it. But I say all that to say it's like things like this is what helps you get out of that anxiety, helps you get out of that depression. Because one of the, symptoms of anxiety and depression is like negative thought patterns, whether that's being self-critical towards yourself or thinking everything is going bad in the world around you, because that's anxiety. Oh, I don't want to go there, something bad's gonna happen, or I'm gonna embarrass myself, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. Think about how many times you say that to yourself and how that has stopped you from a lot of opportunities or experiences that you look back and you're like, dang, I should have did that. So to me, the positive thoughts is just like, ah, man, it's just sad to see in my field, and I mean you see it as well because you work with kids too. But it's like there's nobody telling them that. There's nobody telling them that. That's where it
Yeah.
starts.
That's
Essentially for everybody, adults and
definitely.
children. That's where it
It's
starts. Like you just said, like you didn't have that. You thought you knew everything, but you didn't
mhm.
have that. And that's what I see a lot with the kids. It's like soon as I try to compliment them, no, I'm regular.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, your hair looks beautiful. It's so ugly. It's just
It's a and for me it wasn't necessarily negative thoughts, I just didn't know how to receive and acknowledge the good. So
mm-hmm.
for me it never
Mm-hmm.
was. I've always been a pretty optimistic person, so I never was drowned in negative thoughts. It was more so like, why don't you acknowledge the good that you are doing? Like, why
Right,
don't you give
right.
yourself credit for some of the things?
Mm-hmm.
And so for us and the students that we see and that we serve, it's easy to shut off those compliments because I'm not used to receiving it. I don't know what self-love looks like.
Right.
Like, there's so many other images of what beauty is. I could never be beautiful. What are you talking about? Like, I don't have the hair or the clothes that this person have. That's considered beautiful. And
Right.
so for me, that's not me. These are what the students are telling
Right, right,
telling
right.
themselves, right? And so that's why affirming is important. That's why us being in our natural element and acknowledging that is important. That's why showing images and representation to our youth is important. So and even talking about what that looks like to develop self-love.
Mm-hmm.
And these are not just kids. Like, I see adults
Hmm.
who lack the awareness to
Right.
have self-love.
You
And
know,
like,
I
so
don't
this
mean
is
to cut
not
you
just
off,
to
but
kids, this is
Keith used to
for
do this funny thing to everybody where if you said something like, "Oh, I look ugly today," he'd be like, "Yep, you ugly." And I remember hearing him saying that, like, what? But it's like it makes you aware of how you talk to
Mhm.
yourself. When somebody else repeats it, it's like,
Mhm.
oh dang, I do kind of sound crazy.
Yes.
And it's like I never seen anybody use it in that way. Like, let me just repeat back what you just
What you
said
just said.
so you can hear how you
What you just
sound. Because
said.
we think that, oh, well, that's just how it is. Like,
Mhm.
I'm ugly today. Like, no, no. A lot of
Yeah.
times we look fine.
9 times out of the
Nine
10.
times out of 10, we
uh,
actually look fine,
Yeah.
but we're being so critical on
Mhm.
ourselves
Mhm.
that we just made ourselves believe that we don't look good. Um, I would say like more recently, like I have this thing where I'm like kind of growing out of makeup. Like I'm like I don't wear it as often as I used to, and I used to like really go full out like eyeshadow everything. Like now I'm like, well, can I make it look more natural because I'm starting to realize that the way that I see myself and the way that other people see me is completely different. Like I'm super critical on myself when I don't have makeup on, and then to other people, I look better without makeup. And I'm like, now that I'm thinking about it, like things actually do look better without makeup. Like my skin is actually clear, so I don't know why I'm putting this on. That's just an example, but I wanted to ask you: has there ever been a time where you didn't have those positive thoughts and that prevented you from doing something that you really wanted to do, or maybe delayed doing something that you really wanted to do?
Um, Probably in undergrad. In undergrad, which was around age 20, well, even starting in high school, but like I'll speak more to more recent undergrad. I feel like I always had great ideas. Like I feel like I'm a visionary and I just know how to be real creative with stuff and I'll do it. But I always felt like where I came from and what, honestly speaking, like my family represented and what I was surrounded by, like my opinion didn't matter in those academic spaces, um, or like my voice didn't matter in those spaces,
Mm,
because I didn't have a family that came from it. And so there was a lot of insecurity around that. And again, a lot of lack of self-awareness and self-love in that, like, yes, I'm here, but do I deserve to be here? And so I feel like I battle with that a lot, like not really fully being who I was in these spaces
mhm.
because I didn't feel like I deserved to be here. And so the more I began to develop a voice and like people reassure me like, no, you got dope ideas, like no, your voice matters. And once I built that, then I was able to come into spaces like, no, I know exactly what I'm talking about and I know my ideas fire. But
Right.
it took like people like instilling that in me, but and then
Right.
also me taking a look in the mirror like, why aren't you as confident? Like, why aren't you? What is it that you're experiencing to where you don't feel as though you belong in these spaces? Like, nah,
Mhm.
you deserve to be here just like everybody else. But then I remembered that was rooted in people not telling me early on. Like,
Right.
my
Right.
mom always told me she loved me, and they tell me I'm smart. But then outside of that, I didn't have much of that. So
Mhm.
I think that that's what it was. It was a lot of that very early on.
Right.
Like, I know I got it, but I'm hesitant to give it, if that makes sense.
No,
Like,
that makes perfect sense. That
I,
happens to me all
I'm
the
in the
time.
classroom, like, I know the answer. I know the answer, but I'm the only black girl in here. And what if the answer is not to the best of its ability? And then everybody's just like, oh,
Right.
so it was like a lot of that, but only in those spaces because when I go home and I'm in my comfort zone, like, oh, I know the answer. Like,
Right.
I
Yeah.
got it. And I
Yeah.
feel it. I was in my element, but yeah,
It's like you second guess yourself.
yeah, yeah,
That
yeah.
happens to me all the time. And I like what you said about how some people will point that out. Like, for example, I feel like recently,
I was like,
well,
dang, I just got very kind of emotional there.
it's all right. That's what this podcast is about, okay?
I'm like,
But I would say like recently, I I'm the type of person that I'm super hard on myself. Like that's why I started going back to therapy again because I knew something's not right. Like why do I keep kind of like almost like self-sabotage. Like you know you have the ability to do it, but all these negative thoughts start coming up in your head, so then you just stop. You know, for me, it came along with the podcast. I've been doing the podcast for 3 years. And sometimes I beat myself up because I'm like, well, it should be doing these numbers. It should be doing that. It should be doing this. But every so often, when I feel like I'm about to quit, somebody says, oh, this episode helped me. And it's just like, I know that it's in me, but sometimes those thoughts just get in the way. So I just have to be mindful, and I
Mhm.
have to choose the positive thoughts. Like, even if it's just 3 people listening, if you help save somebody's life,
Mhm.
that means more than 100,000
Mhm.
listeners. You get what I'm
Mhm.
saying? If I encourage one person to go to therapy and they're able to get over their trauma or work through their trauma, that means more to me. And that's what I have to remember. Um, but yeah, that definitely has put me in places where I just stop. Cause it's not like I'll do it like, oh, I'm gonna just do it even though I'm having all these negative thoughts. Like I'll just stop. I'll just
Yeah.
stop. And I had to check myself on that. And you know, with therapy and with even see, that's the good thing about being a therapist is that when you feel unmotivated or when you are struggling with negative thoughts, you gotta go to work and
And
teach a
still and
kid
still show up.
how
And still
to
show up.
how to do positive self-talk, how to do the affirmations. And I'm listening to some of the affirmations. I'm like, dang, like this is hitting me. Like this is hitting me. Even though this is for the kid, this is hitting me. So that's why I love these cards. And like even with the middle school kids, confidence.
Mhm.
Confidence is a big thing. Like a lot of them don't have the confidence. So when they come in, I'll be like, did you write an affirmation on the board today? They're like, ah, I don't believe it. I said, I know you don't believe it, but I'm planting the seed in your head so
So
that
that
one
one day, that
day
in one day.
it's gonna pop up.
Yes.
I always ask them, I'll be like, what kind of car do your mom have? And they'll tell me, they're like, oh, Volkswagen or whatever, right? I'm like, I bet you see them all the time now, huh? They're like, yeah. I was like, well, before she got the car, did you see it? Well, no, I didn't really see. That's because it's in your conscious now.
Mhm.
So now you see it everywhere, but
Mhm.
before you wasn't paying no attention to it. So now that you see this affirmation, now you're gonna see it all the time. Now it's gonna start coming up in your head when you have those negative thoughts. Oh, instead of saying, oh, I can't do it, I'm gonna say, you know what, let me
I
try.
can.
Exactly. Let me try. Even if I fail, at least I tried.
Mhm.
You know? So I love that about the cards. What would you say? How do you teach someone else how to use positive self-talk?
So for me again, I always start with myself. Before I'm able to
Mm-hmm.
teach anybody, I'm like, are you modeling what you're about to teach?
Right.
So that example that I gave earlier, that was undergrad Rashida. Rashida now is just like, you have the skills, like challenge these negative thoughts if and when they show up. You know who to go to, who to talk to, who's going to make it all better.
Mm-hmm.
You have your friendship connection. So I make sure like home is solid first. Right now I again do work with middle school students. So as soon as they walk in my office, I greet them first. Good morning, how are you doing? That comes first, me acknowledging that. But then before they leave my space, I'd say, give me 3 things that you're proud of. Give me 3 things
Mm,
that you like about yourself. And sometimes that's hard for them because middle school is a age where they really don't know. Like they're developing that character. They just went from, you know, where they're kids in elementary, just learning the basics. And then in middle school, they're expected to know these things.
right.
Reality is people do not know. Like, so it is my hope that one day I have a school for soon as kids are able to walk and talk and get the foundation, like we're instilling that in them, like
Right.
what love looks like, what it feels like, um, what does it mean to affirm yourself? Like I
Mm-hmm.
can ask a kid to affirm yourself. They don't even know what the affirm means. Like, so really like breaking it down to that level. What does it mean to love? Like where you come from.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, I don't know where I come from. I come from the hood. No, but like as a people, where do we come from? So really building that foundation. And so to answer your question, I teach that by exposing them to that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so for example, I work with primarily African American students. They can't tell me they love themselves if they don't even know the history they come from. I'm always hearing like, "Oh, that's ghetto. That's ghetto." No, baby, we creative.
Right,
We come from a
exactly.
rich history, but that
Right.
context has to be provided.
Hmm.
So I know this was a long answer, but when I teach the kids how to affirm themselves, I start from like historically, like as people,
Mm.
you need to know where you come from to know
Right.
to be able to affirm that I am powerful.
Right.
Like you need to know that you like genetically have knowledge and wisdom and like be able to create all the things that we create as Black people. You need to have that foundation first so you can stand here and affirm how creative you are and how.
Mm.
So that's how I teach it. Like, yeah, I'm gonna give you the I am statements in these fill in words, and I'm
Right.
gonna educate you on these words. We're gonna see if it matches your
Right. Yeah.
personality. Because I don't want my students just to affirm and say, I am beautiful. Like, I know that you're beautiful, but I need you to know like why you're beautiful and the
Right.
different traits that comes with being beautiful. Are you beautiful at the core? Like,
Right.
I like to give substance in you.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
You
like to
like give
give
them a little history
I
lesson.
because we're building adults
Right.
who
The
are
next
gonna be
generation. Yeah.
responsible and they're living. I mean, this is happening now. And so people don't realize how much influence and power we have in the school system.
Right.
We are with these kids the most.
Yeah.
5 days a week, 8 hours a
More
day.
than they are at home,
We
really, because they're mostly sleep at home.
we play a very vital role in their lives. And so me just teaching them I am statements is just the surface. Like I
Right.
have to teach so much more. So I know that that wasn't meant to be like an in-depth
No,
questions or
that's
answer,
great.
but like
That's great.
it's not just me giving them skills. It's really like, okay, so what do you like? Okay, what makes you happy? Okay, what makes you sad? What are your triggers? Like really breaking it down so
Right.
they can know what the words that they're able to identify when it's time to give me a list of 3 affirmations.
Right. 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 I would say for me, I take more of an approach as far as like, one, are you even mindful that you're talking to yourself this
Mm,
way? Because some people think that this is normal. Even I thought this is normal. I remember the first time I met Chef Beans, he was just so positive. And like even when he talked about his play or his series, because it was a series at the time, he was just like, I just know great things are happening. I just know. And I'm thinking, you don't have no doubt? Like I really used to look at people like that, like, you don't have no doubt. But you really have to retrain yourself sometimes to have that mindset, because a lot of the times when I work with kids, I see that it comes from generations of being talked down to, and then so they think that that's how you're supposed to talk.
learn behavior.
Exactly, learn behavior. And not to say that the parents are mindful that they're even doing this. They may not even know. They may not, they may think this is how it's supposed to be. Like even even as much as get, oh, don't tattoos. That's unprofessional. That's this, that's this, that's ugly. That, why is it ugly? It's beautiful. Like you said,
Because
if
it's
if you
art.
if you know our history, they put markers on their bodies all the time. But now it's ugly. Now it's ghetto. Now, you know what I'm saying? So sometimes we have to separate ourselves from, the people around us and how they think in order to create that positive mindset. Because if you keep thinking in that negative mindset, it's only going to dig you deeper into whatever it is.
You know, as I two things come up as I hear you talking. One, to Chef Bean's point, um, I would agree with him in good things are coming and you wanting to speak that because that's just a testament of your faith. Like
Right.
that's a to me, I hear like a spiritual connection. Like I know good things are coming because I have faith that they will
Right.
and I'm putting in the work. So I love that positive energy of it.
Yeah.
Like
That's my
I
guy.
be in line with that because you have to know that your hard work will pay off because then why else are you doing it?
Right.
So I definitely agree with that aspect of the positive energy. Um, being realistic too and very honest is that I do understand why it could be hard to be positive. Like I understand it. And a student held me accountable the other day, like not the other day, maybe 2 weeks ago. I was just like, just think positive. Like I'm the person that like you always got something positive to say.
Right.
I'm gonna be
Right.
honest and own it. Because that's the way I think. I have to know that everybody does not have that, and I have to be okay with that.
They don't.
So
Yeah.
as I'm telling, talking to her like you need to be positive, she's like, Miss Jones, everything's not positive. And then I had to take a sit back. Like when you think about some of the environments that we work in, how can I be positive when the lights is off? How can I be positive when I ain't got nothing to eat? How can I be positive when I'm supposed to be doing homework, but then I gotta watch a sibling? How I'm supposed to be positive when there's abuse going on? So we can sit up here and talk the positive thoughts
Right,
and
right,
teach that, but like again, sometimes reality is not allowing you to be as positive as you would like to be, which is why we still teach it though. Like because you're going through this, that doesn't mean that your situation cannot change.
right,
And that's again why we're, in the social work profession, because again, if you're going with these things, trust us to talk to us so things could change
right.
and within your situation. And so I just want to own that too, because there is this idea that I've heard a lot, like having toxic positivity.
Mm,
And I don't
yeah.
think that I think that that is a thing, but I don't think there's nothing wrong with people who, again, are optimistic and always have positive vibes. Like,
Right,
we just know how to channel it different, and we've built that
right,
up to be able to walk that line of faith. Um, but and then also being, open to the people who are just like, nah, I don't see the glass as
right.
full as you do, Miss Jones.
Yeah, that's like a
Like my
thing.
situation, like we don't got money, Miss Jones. Like,
Right.
and that's real. And how can you combat that? So
Yeah, I like how you said like the kids check you because I feel like I've had to check myself because when you're trying to teach positive thinking and the kid just tells you, "Oh, this my friend got shot in front of my house yesterday."
like,
It's like we got to hold space for them too.
mhm,
And what I tell them is that you have the right to be mad.
mhm,
You have the right to be sad. But when I'm telling you to choose positive thoughts or when I'm trying to get you to say these affirmations, that doesn't mean that the pain automatically
mhm,
stops. It just may help it go, not ease it, but it helps you cope with it, I should say. I always describe it to them like your feelings and emotions are like waves. When you go to the beach, you can't stand in front of the wave and stop it. The wave is still going to hit you, right? But it eventually it goes back down and then you start feeling better. I don't know when the wave is going to go down for you, but I'm still going to teach you these positive things, but I'm also going to acknowledge your pain.
mhm,
So I like what you said about that because I've had to check myself on that too because sometimes we think that well, I'll just speak for myself. Sometimes I think like, oh, like I'm black too. Like I understand. No, no, you don't.
there's so many different
There's so
cultures
many
within the Black
exactly. There's so many
experience.
different cultures
Yeah.
and socioeconomic status like
Mhm.
that all plays a
Apart.
part.
Mhm.
Environment that all plays a
Mhm.
part. So just because you think you know what they're going through because no you
Mhm.
don't. You don't know
Mhm.
what that kid's going through. So you're absolutely right. We
Or
do have to
that person, because I know we're speaking in terms of kids because we work with students, but like
right.
this is everyday people
Right. I know I keep saying
who
kids.
are really
That's all I
struggling,
want to
and
say. Y'all.
I know
Sorry.
that I want to make sure that
Right.
people our age, older, like people are going through
Mhm.
these things. Like
Right.
everybody is in some way affected or have been challenged with
Mhm.
negative thoughts or just experiencing life as it comes.
Right.
So,
And also too, a lot of times I tell people, I know you don't believe this right now. I know you don't. That's fine. But we gonna plant the seed. And that's when I think of your cards, like that's what I think like they're for. Like obviously I'm not gonna believe, oh, my work is meaningful every single day when I wake up. I'm not gonna wake up and be like my work is meaningful because sometimes you have those tough days. You have
Nia,
those
I
hard
hope
days.
you know that I'm gonna have to. I hope that you know that
Look at me talking
every.
negative. We
I
supposed to be
see.
just
So
as
I'm
positive.
holding her accountable,
Right.
Nia.
Right.
I hope that you know that every single day that you step outside of the bed, that the work you do, whether it's at school, whether it's whatever you do, that there's purpose in it. So I need you to know that. Whether you feel that or not,
Right.
like I need you to know that. Like from this moment on,
Mm.
regardless of how you feel, like the work and the value that you have,
Right. Right.
it's valuable. So
Yeah.
some things like we not budging on.
Right.
It's
Okay. Okay.
that's one that we
I would check
won't.
myself. I was
That's
trying to
one
give
we
an
won't.
example. I guess it was a bad
That was.
example. Sorry. So poor example. But we do get people that come into our office that, like you said, are going through the midst of something terrible. And what we're doing, we're just planting the seed. We're just planting the seed. Um, What do you think about? Why am I forgetting my question right now? Mm-mm-mm-mm. Do you think that gratitude is something that we can pair with that positive self talk? Because I like what you said, like everything is not positive. But do you think that in the midst of that, we can find something that we're grateful for?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I find myself doing that a lot. Like in the midst of all of the good things that's been happening to me, there has been moments, not that there was negative self thoughts, but that I felt down. Just because life, like I'm not gonna always be at a high. Like I
Mm-hmm.
just was in my feels
Right.
and I wanted to own that. But in the midst of me feeling that, like I acknowledged it. And I think that that's why I acknowledge my growth so much right now because I was like, all right, Rashida, you are sad right now. It's okay to be sad. What you want to do with the sadness? Do you want to go run it off? Do you want to cry it out? Like, what we doing with it? But sit in it. You don't have to rush out of it. And so I acknowledged that I was sad, but I was like, I'm sad, but God, thank you that I'm able to call my mom and tell her I need
Exactly.
a hug. Like, I'm
Exactly.
sad, but God, thank you that I'm sitting in this beautiful house looking out to this view with these trees that you created, and I'm seeing all of your works. Like, so in the midst of me being sad, I'm still able to like text my best friend, and I'm grateful for those
Mm-hmm.
things. And so, absolutely, in the midst of whatever you're feeling, regardless of what the feeling is, I'm going to always thank God for and be grateful.
Right.
Like, for every single thing
Right.
from a
Right.
meal to a text message. That's why I'm like, I'm thankful for when you text me and acknowledging my work. Like I find gratitude in every single thing. I'm thankful when my students come soon as they get to class, soon as they get to school and they say, "Good morning, Miss Jones." Those are moments that like I so yes.
Right.
Yes, no
Right.
matter how I feel, I will always find gratitude in everything. In everything.
I think that that's something new for me, honestly. Gratitude is, I don't know why. I don't know where that comes from. Is it just being spoiled? I don't know. I mean, I'm blessed to have grew up in a family where we never had to worry about money. My dad and my mom made sure that me and my brother had whatever we needed. And I think that sometimes when you do grow up like that, you aren't as grateful as you're supposed to be. And once you become an adult and you realize how things are so what's the word, like they can go in a snap. I know there's a better word for that, but like things can be gone so quickly. It makes you reevaluate, like, dang, I'm worrying about, oh, am I gonna make this amount of money? You have a car,
Mhm.
you have a roof over your head, you can go and buy something to eat. You don't have to worry about, am I gonna eat tonight or should I do get gas? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I don't That's not something that I have to worry about. But we have to show thanks and show gratitude, because maybe we can't find anything positive to say in that moment, but we can say what we're grateful for, because it can always be worse. It
Mhm.
can always be worse. And not to say that we're not acknowledging what happens, right? We're still acknowledging what happens. Like you said, I'm sad, but I'm grateful that I get to call my mom and she can be there for me in that
Mhm.
moment. A lot of people don't have that.
Exactly.
A
And
lot of people can't call their parents, you know? So I like that it kind of goes hand in hand. The gratitude
mhm.
also with, the affirmations and the positive self talk. It's
Mhm.
like if you can't find that affirmation in that moment, try to find something that you're
Mhm.
grateful for. Um,
And there's always something to be
it's
thankful. That's
always
always
something.
it's always something.
It's
That's
always
one thing
something.
that you can never run away from. There is literally always something to be grateful for.
It's always something. And I just want to let the listeners know that when you choose the positive thoughts, or even choose to find something that you're grateful for, it could change your whole mood. It could change your whole mood, because sometimes there's been times where something bad happens and I want to just be sad the whole day and not do nothing, and just, when you're like upset, you want to be that for the whole day. But sometimes you see something, or you see something positive, or somebody says, like, Rashida, thank you for making these cards, and it's like, now my whole mood is better because I'm thankful now. You know, I'm not taking the small things for granted. You know, sometimes I go into work and I complain like, "Oh dang, what these kids gonna say now?" You know, I'm stressed, and then the kids like, "Oh, thank you, Miss King. I really like this," and I'm like, "Oh, thank you." Like it really has the power to change a lot, and also too, like this can help your health as
Mhm.
well, physical health, not just mental health. Because one thing for me is that I used to struggle with anxiety a lot and thinking always that the worst could happen. And I started getting gastritis. It's
Okay.
basically inflammation in the stomach
Okay.
because I
Of
was
the
so
worry.
stressed out, worried all the time. And I noticed that when I started working with my therapist and I started, you know, trying to focus more on the positive things, I haven't had a flare up in like 6 months. And it's just
Mm.
like, that's weird because the doctor's like, well, I don't know what's going on. I don't know where this is coming from or whatever the case may be. And now it's gone just
Yeah.
by changing the way that I approach situations, the way that I think. So I encourage everybody to get some mental note cards. But if you can't get mental note cards, you could look it up on self affirmations, positivity, different things like that. I encourage everybody to start to put that into practice because it,
Yeah.
it may be
And
something you have to develop.
I definitely think that if I can offer, if this wasn't even a thing, right?
Hmm.
Um I feel like your experience can help shape that form of gratitude, cuz for me, we didn't grow up with much financially for me. However, what we did have was love. And
Mm,
that's something that's intangible. Like, you can't see love, but I felt love in my house. And I felt love for my mom, and I felt love for my siblings. And so we may not had a lot,
right.
but that love was felt. And so I feel like I've always lived in a state of gratitude, whether I had it or not. Like, whether it appeared as though, whether I went without, I, again, there was always something to be thankful for. And so for my offer to people who may not have um, the positive thoughts right now,
Hmm.
or who may not can get resources, or have, a friend, or maybe you don't have access to, you lost a parent, or whatever the case may be. um, have faith, though. Like, have that spiritual connection, because again, these are things that people cannot take away from you. um, and life is what you make it. And so if this is your situation now, link to people who can get you out of that.
Right.
I don't want to sit here and say, like, fortunately I developed that. Like,
Right.
I developed that, but that was me doing deep work, Nia. Like, that was me being raised in love. That was me seeking therapy. That was me seeking self-awareness. That was me leaning on my friends when I needed that.
Hmm.
And so for anybody who's out there listening, like, those are going to be the things that's going to keep you in those thoughts.
Right.
Those are going to be some of the things, whether they're all at once, they come at different points in your life. But yeah, be grateful for the little things. It's the little things that, again, money can't buy.
Right.
What if I'm in my mood and I can't go to a concert, or like things that cost money? Or what if
Right.
I'm in my mood and I can't do certain things that can bring this positive, like, but I have my breath, though.
Right.
Like, some people didn't wake up. You
I'm
mentioned you
alive.
mentioned you mentioned funerals, like,
Right.
that's real. Like, I'm breathing, and I'm able to move my limbs,
Right.
and I'm able to, you know, um, have a second chance at life. I do have the power to change my situation if I connect with the right people. So, um, I just wanted to acknowledge
Yeah.
that even if that's not your story now, that
Right.
you do have the power. Like, I mentioned, we come from a powerful
Right.
collective of
And this
people.
is years in the
This
making.
is
This is not something
no,
that we
yes,
just listened to one
absolutely.
podcast and it was over. But
No,
this is like years. Sometimes it does take years to learn
we're
this way of
we're
thinking.
forever evolving.
Right.
Like, that's the beauty.
Right.
That's the beauty.
Absolutely.
Is that
And
true?
one of my quotes from the mental note is like, if you can't find happiness within yourself, you won't be able to find it anywhere
Nowhere
else.
else.
And it's just like, think
Nowhere
about
else.
that though, because the flip is, if you have happiness with it, nobody else can take that from you because it's within you. It's already there. So
No matter
nobody can
where
take
they
that.
come or go, no matter what they do, like, you'll have that moments of
Right.
whatever,
Right.
but it's within.
It's within.
It's within.
So y'all gotta find it within. I'm just saying, get these mental note cards. I mean, I didn't want to make this a commercial, but it kind of seems like a commercial. Thank you again for coming and just sharing your knowledge and wisdom and even just affirming me. You know, sometimes I need to hear that because it just goes over my head sometimes. But I thank you for
Yeah.
that. Where can the people follow you and find you? Find mental note cards.
Yes. So again, my name is Rasheeda Jones. I have a platform called Mental Note by Imani Tafiq, which promotes mental health in the Black community. And so these mental cards are on that website, which is Mental Note by ImaniTafiq.com, Mental Note underscore by Imani on Instagram. And so the cards are there. Mental Health Awareness Month is coming up in the month of May. So there will be a sale going on.
Okay.
Please don't miss that sale. But yeah, this is for anybody. Like people have purchased them for gifts for their friends. They have been good for your desk. Like it keeps you in a spirit of self-improvement
Right.
every single day. And so even myself, like I want to get back to doing it daily because they're so helpful. And so yes, that's where you can find them. Um I'm always open to dialogue. I'm always open to um giving tips or providing the blueprint because that was done for me. Now I did have to seek my own and pay for my own help in a lot of ways, but that it was me wanting to do the work. Like I
Right.
knew,
Right.
and I think that people need to be reminded of that is you have to want it for yourself. You have to want it for yourself.
Hmm.
You want growth, that's a self choice. Like you want change, that's a self choice. Yeah, and stay connected to people who's willing to uplift you in that. So I don't mind constantly pouring into you affirmations and
Yeah, I
showing
need
up
that. I
whenever
need
you
that.
need to because that's what we're here for. Like that's what community looks like. So again, thank you for even allowing me to share my work on this platform and being so excited about it. Like you're so excited about it
I
and
love
that's
sharing the
beauty, a shared
resources. Yeah.
collective of joy. And so that's what positive energy look like. Like it don't necessarily always have to be affirmations, but it can be moments like this where we're sharing the work and knowledge and those are positive thoughts,
Right.
whether we say it or not.
Amen.
Me
Amen.
saying you look good, sis, is that's an affirmation. It doesn't necessarily,
Right.
so yeah,
Yeah.
it's been my pleasure.
Thank you. Thank
My
you.
pleasure.
And I want to make sure that you guys subscribe to us on YouTube. What's good with you? Follow us on Instagram, double underscore what's good with you. And also TikTok. I forgot to say TikTok last time. We are also on TikTok, What's Good With You podcast. So follow us on there for all the updates. Um, get our merch at what's good with you pod.com. And this has been another episode of What's Good With
Bye.
You.